Welcome to using Respondus for remote instruction. My name is Carla McKenzie, and I'm the instructional technologist for Morton College. Before we begin, you may wish to minimize any disruptions to the session. You're welcome to click the purple tab in the lower right corner. That will open up this additional panel, and then you can click on the gear, which is the My Settings panel, and then in the notification settings, you're welcome to select or deselect any of the notifications that you may find slightly disruptive today. In addition, you're certainly welcome to magnify any content that you see on the screen by clicking the magnifying glass in the upper left corner. Once you do that, this panel will open and you will be able to zoom in or out of any content that you see on the screen today. And then finally, occasionally I will ask for digital feedback. You can do that by clicking on the silhouette, which is in the lower middle of the screen. When you click the silhouette, it will open up into this pop-up menu, and you can provide some digital feedback in the form of an emoticon to let me know how you're doing out there today. So I would be very pleased if you can all do that right now to let me know that you have found the silhouette. Ah, very good. A few folks have found it. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Perfect. Thank you so much. I do see a question already in the chat. Will the PowerPoint be available? Yes, it will, Jennifer. No problem. I can send it to you via email. Not a problem. So I will take notice of all the folks who have attended today, and I can send the PowerPoint out to you. No problem at all. Our session today should run about 35 to 45 minutes, and then I will leave about 15 minutes of question answer. Certainly you can type questions into the chat. Our style today will be to present the content and then I will demonstrate. You're certainly welcome to follow up with me via email at carla.mckenzie@morton.edu. And then there are training guides and handouts available. So with no further ado, today we will have an introduction to Respondus, find out what it is. We will understand when Respondus is used, who sets up Respondus, how students access Respondus, and then why faculty use Respondus. So we do have quite a full agenda today. What is Respondus? Respondus is actually a customized browser. So it's no different from any other browser that you're already familiar with, for example, Firefox or even Google. But this is a customized browser that increases the security of any tests you deliver via Blackboard. So when students use the Respondus lockdown browser, they're actually able to access their exam, but they are unable to print or copy or access any other URLs, or certainly unable to access any other applications. So once an assessment is actually started, then students are locked into that assessment until it's submitted for grading. So that's why they call it the lockdown browser, because they're not able to do anything else outside of that browser. They are locked in. Faculty actually have a choice to use Respondus to access an actual online exam that they choose to give to their students, or even to use it as a practice exam setting. So this is definitely the faculty members' discretion and their preference. So there's no rule one way or the other. And you, as the faculty member, will access the Respondus tool in Blackboard and set up the actual parameters in an online setting. So everything is done by you. How do students access? Well, students access Respondus as they normally would for any other online exam. They do need special software. So students will actually need to install the lockdown browser before they begin using the lockdown browser for an actual exam. The browser is Windows compatible as well as Mac compatible. So the browser right now is on the students' Morton College site. So they can find that right now. we could also put that on your site so that you can see it. But the students do have access to the lockdown browser and they can begin installing it at this time. How does the Respondus work? Well, the assessments are actually displayed in full screen. They cannot be minimized, and the browser menus and the toolbar options are no longer there. They only have access to a few buttons, for example, back or forward or refresh. But any other toolbars or browser menus that you typically see are removed. So this does prevent access to any other applications, including screen sharing or any virtual machines or remote desktops or any messaging applications that the students will use. And all printing and screen capture functions are actually disabled. So in the past, some students may have captured their screen using the print screen button, but all of the buttons on their keyboard are actually disabled. They can't copy or paste anything from an assessment. All of that is prevented. Any function keys or right key shortcuts or menus, task switching, everything's gone for that particular student. So they cannot use any of those commonly used functions until after the exam is submitted for grading. And this lockdown browser cannot be used with any other browser. So if you try to go in using Google's Chrome or Firefox, it will not work. It will ask for a password, which the student or you doesn't actually have. So they cannot take a test. Once you set up the parameters, they cannot take a test unless they use the actual lockdown browser. Judy has a great question. Will we know if a student has downloaded the lockdown browser? You won't know if they've downloaded the browser, but they will know that they haven't downloaded the browser because they will not be able to take the exam. So I would suggest that you have all students, you let them know that we do use the lockdown browser, and you have the students download it ahead of time. Yes, Kim, it is supposed to be compatible on the iPhone or an iPad. Definitely the iPad, and it is supposed to be compatible via iPhone, although there are some limitations as there would be with a regular smartphone. So because the browser is a little smaller and the window screen, the screen real estate is not large on an actual iPhone. So the same challenges exist as they would on an iPhone, but they should be A-OK for an iPad. But yes, it is compatible with an iPad. Great questions, you guys. Thank you so much. So why is Respondus used? Respondus is used as a deterrent. Because the browser is locked, it gives the appearance of a watchful eye over their test taking ability. So we don't have the ability at this time to actually proctor our students during remote instruction. For this reason, we start to use something like Respondus so that it appears that we're kind of watching over them and that we're maintaining academic integrity as much as we possibly can in a remote setting. Now, how will you actually monitor your students? The Respondus lockdown browser, which we currently have pilot license for, but we are making the purchase, and the purchase should be complete in August, at the end of August, because we're in August now. So we have the license for the browser, and that's absolutely no problem at all. But the Respondus monitoring is limited to 200 seats. So what this means is, if you have a student that's in Geography 101, that student can take unlimited exams in Geography 101. When that same student uses the browser for another class, say Accounting 101, then that's an additional seat that's taken up. So right now, the Respondus monitor is limited to 200 seats. There is an option, of course, for us to purchase more licenses in the future, and students will actually need a webcam if you're actually going to physically monitor the students while they're taking an exam, meaning that you're going to view them and be able to play it back. So the Respondus monitor actually records students as they're taking the exam, and the instructor can review each and every recording that is recorded with the use of a webcam. So students don't need to advance schedule or anything like that. We can monitor them using the Respondus monitor, except that right now we have a limit of 200 seats. That's quite a limitation. And I'm sure if faculty use this regularly, I am sure that the college will be happy to purchase the additional seats, which turn out to be about $4 per student. So it can purchase for about $39.50 for an additional 1,000 seats. So it's not a problem, but I'm sure they want to see that we're actually using the software before they make the investment, the additional investment.
However, could I ask a question, a quick question?
Sure, sure, Baruch, yes.
So does this mean that at any moment, only 200 students can use Respondus?
Yes, that's what that says. Not just at any moment at all. And that doesn't mean 200 within an hour or 200 within a week. That means 200 total at this time. And right now, faculty are not using it. So once we make a case that we need more seats, and I'm not sure how this is going to be done. I'm not sure if this is going to be done by all of the departments kind of sharing in the cost with their budget. Haven't worked that out yet. We do know that we do have 200 seats available at this time.
What I have in mind is this: if already 200 students are at their computer and using Respondus, then another student won't be able to use it and access the exam.
That is correct. I need to speak with the additional powers, which at Respondus, how is this actually monitored and what are the results that the student actually sees? You are correct. We can actually monitor on our end how many seats have been taken up. So I do have access to the administrator panel and I can see how many seats are being taken up. So I will know as we approach that limit, and I'm not the only person that knows. So it's just a matter of payment. If everyone starts to use it, then that's when you make a case to the powers that be that we need additional licenses. So I'm sure it won't be a problem as we move forward. Or I can probably take a survey and find out if you intend to use it, then we can make a case even before the semester begins. So this is brand new. I'm sure we'll have all the kinks worked out by spring, but right now, this is brand new, the fall. We're still working out all of the kinks if possible. I'm looking at the comments. And won't 200 seats go pretty fast? Yes, there will. Yes. And guessing they'll wait to see. Uh-huh. All right, very good. 200 will go very fast. Absolutely. So I'm very glad to hear that we have so much interest. Allow me to take a poll right now, and this is just 10 faculty members. Hang on one second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start my poll. And the if you could answer the poll, and we'll see how this goes. All right. So here we are with, and I'll show you the responses. So here we are with on this particular in this particular session, we have 12 participants. And so that means about half of the persons will begin using or anticipating using Respondus. So if 6 people have 20 students in their course, or I don't know exactly how many are in every course, but if 6 faculty members have 20 students, that's already 120 seats that are taken. So you're absolutely right. That might go very fast. So we just need to make the case to the powers that be that we'll need more seats to begin this upcoming fall. And I'm sure that won't be a problem. Not at all. Oh, Kim is saying that she's been trying to get this for several years. Well, excellent. Very good. It's finally here, Kim. I'm very glad to hear you say that, but it's finally here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And I do hear a little, just a little going on in the background. All right. So when students click the link that we've already set up, what they will see is this. They have an introduction to a video that they can watch, and I will show you the video that the students will watch. It will automatically evaluate what type of system that they're accessing from. So this is based on my computer, which is Windows 10, and the download size, it looks like, is 71 meg. So it does have the system requirements. So they know which version, whether it's the Mac version or the Windows version. And then here's the install button. So all they need to do is click the install now link. So what I want to show you is actually the student video that they're going to see. So if you bear with me while I share my screen with you at this time.
If you're watching this, you're probably required to use Respondus Lockdown Browser for an online exam. Lockdown Browser is a different kind of browser. While taking an exam, you can't print, use other applications, visit other websites, you can't even search the internet for answers. I know, it takes all the fun out of online tests. But here's the good thing. Your classmates can't do those things either. So it's just your brain against their brain. A level playing field. Your instructor will provide a link for downloading and installing Lockdown Browser. When you start it, Lockdown Browser might warn you that certain applications have to be shut down before you continue, like screen capture programs, instant messaging, Skype, pretty much anything that lets you communicate with the outside world. You can close those applications yourself or let Lockdown Browser do it for you. The browser will then go to the login page for your online course. Log in like you normally do and locate the exam that requires Lockdown Browser. Remember, after the exam starts, you won't be able to do other things on your computer until you finish the exam. When you're done, just exit Lockdown Browser and you'll be all set. Your instructor might also require you to use a webcam with Lockdown Browser. This part is sometimes called Respondus Monitor, but just think of it as a webcam for Lockdown Browser. The nice thing about the webcam feature is that it lets you take exams from the comfort of your own home or from the other side of the world. Plus, you can take exams at any time of the day or night. The webcam will record what happens during the exam, and the instructor can review it afterward. So if an exam requires you to use Lockdown Browser and a webcam, just start Lockdown Browser and locate the exam. Before the exam starts, you'll be guided through a check to make sure your webcam is running properly. Additional steps might also be required by your instructor, such as showing your ID or taking a video of your surrounding area. Once the exam starts, don't give the webcam another thought. Just focus on that test you stayed up all night studying for. When the exam is finished and you submit it for grading, the webcam will shut off automatically. That's pretty much it. Now, take a deep breath and good luck.
So that's the video students will see. So when they actually get ready to download the actual software, before they see this is the video that they can actually click on and review so that they know what they're getting into. So I thought I would show you guys first, and then you can definitely have the students take a look and so that they can see the video. All right, so I'll make sure I won't do that again. Okay. All right, so the demonstration that we've already completed was looking at the student video. Now I want to show you the actual Lockdown Browser, and then we can check the software requirements. Allow me to be clear. We have purchased, thank you, Dennis, for your question. We have purchased the Lockdown Browser. There is no limit on the Lockdown Browser. We've purchased that, and there is no limit. The limit is on the Respondus monitor only. So I just want to make sure that that's absolutely clear. Our 200 seats is just for the monitor. If you wanted to review your students while they're taking the actual exam or review the video or watch them take it, you can do that, but that's limited to 200. The lockdown browser we've purchased and there is no limit. Does that make that a little clearer? Can we time the test as we do in the classroom? Yes. Yes, you can. It's exactly the same, Marilyn. So you set up the parameters just like you do with the regular online exam. Yes, you can limit the test. All right, very good. Okay, so I'm so glad that that question was asked a little bit earlier. I talked about the 200 limits. Remember, this is as it relates to the monitoring only. So the lockdown browser, we have enough for all students in all courses at Morton College. That is no limitation at all. But if you want to watch your students, that's the limitation for the 200 seats. And so I do see a couple more questions. Do we, faculty, also have to download the lockdown browser? I can see a link to download it in my Blackboard page. No, you don't have to download the lockdown browser. I'm going to go and take a look at the link that you're looking at on the faculty page. You can access the lockdown browser in Blackboard, and I will show you that shortly. I have about a few more slides. Okay, very good. Can they use a phone as a camera while they take an exam on a CPU if they don't have a webcam? I actually haven't tested that, Dennis. My understanding is that they need the webcam, and that's an excellent question, and I need to probably point back to Respondus to answer that. But I have not tested if they can use their phone as an actual camera. So I'm going to write that down and then I will test that. Very good. Excellent questions. You guys are a bright bunch. All right. So in addition to the student video, which we just saw, I do want to show you the actual lockdown browser. And then I want you to see that it does check the software requirements. So I'm going to share my screen with you again at this time. And then I have the lockdown browser on my computer right now. So it's loading. And this is the actual lockdown browser. It is telling me that I need to, before I can start the lockdown browser, I need to close some of the applications. And then I can say yes, that I want it to close for me. But what I want you to see is that the only buttons that are available are the buttons that the browser allows you to have access to. So in case there's, here's some symbols that your students can use also. If they needed a calculator, there's a calculator that you can put up here also. So there's just a few buttons where it checks that the license is in use. Hang on a second, let me close this. That the license is in, it's not going to allow me to close it. Now let's see. The license is actually in use for Morton College, and there's some other things that it tells you about the license. All right, so because I don't have an actual exam here, and I have other administrator access, so it's behaving a little sporadically because I'm not an actual student. But this is what the students will see, and I wanted you to see it. So they only have access to back and forward, a close button, refresh, some information, and then some symbols. That's all they have access to. Nothing else up here. All right. So I just wanted for you to see the browser. So I'm just going to click exit, which is right here, actually. All right. So it's now exiting. What is the advantage of using the lockdown browser without using Respondus? Well, it gives the student a feeling that they're being actually held to the honor system. They're being watched. It gives them the feeling, even though you're not actually monitoring. So some students will take a picture of the exam or take a screenshot with their computer or copy and paste. They can't do any of that on their actual computer. Now, what they can do is still take a copy of the exam with their phone. And this is when you use other avenues to make sure they're not doing anything else but taking that exam. So, Baruz, that's a good question. So, what you should have, if you want to restrict your students, what you should have, of course, is a timer. What you should have is only show one question at a time. You should have a specific due date, and you should be using randomizing. So if you use all of those tools in combination, your student really should be deterred. Remember, that's all this is going to be, is a deterrent. And I do want to ask you, even if you were using the monitor, would you go through all 20 videos to watch your student take an exam? That's one question. The other thing that people are doing is they're having them take an exam while they're online on Zoom so that they can see their students all at the same time. So that's another option for you. And unfortunately, I did say Zoom because many students or many faculty members are using Zoom, and Collaborate does not allow you to see all students at the same time like Zoom does. Zoom, you get the grid and you can see all of them. With Collaborate, you can only see the students who are the first 5 students, and it doesn't allow you to filter through any of the other students. Then you can only see the student that's talking. And if no one is talking, it just shows you the same 5 students, no matter how many participants are in the call. Can we watch them in real time? Do we have a Zoom license? Okay. We can watch them in real time using Zoom. We do not have a Zoom license, so we can't meet more than 40 minutes. Right. That is correct, Dennis. We don't have a Zoom license at this time. Morton College has not made the commitment to buy the enterprise version of Zoom. So you're right. We're limited to 40 minutes right now. That is correct. So with Monitor, you must watch them all separately. Yes, I have not seen the Monitor where you monitor all students at once. It may have a grid view, Jennifer. That's a good question. I have not, because they're all using separate webcams. I don't know if the interface allows the instructor to see all of the webcams at the same time. So that is a great question. That's another one that I need to find out. Very good questions. You guys are on the ball. Exams are often longer than 40 minutes. You are correct. And it's only $15 a month to get a Zoom unlimited account. Yes, Lisa, thank you so much. A few of the faculty have mentioned to me that that they would like the college to make the investment for all of them. And I appreciate that you are willing to bear that personal cost in order to get the unlimited version. So Lisa is sharing with us that the unlimited version is $15 per month. For the college, the unlimited enterprise, I am not positive, Dr. Kim. I am not positive. I know they looked at it before, so they have not made the commitment. And just so you know, they're making a lot of commitments very quickly. So I do have a few more slides to finish up, but I'm going to take a look and see this last question or the one additional question in the chat. 1 second. Okay, you can use iPad Pro on Collaborate easier than Wacom. Yes, yes. We have purchased, we're making the commitment to purchase Wacom and the iPads. We have a few iPads that they've purchased also. And those are very easy to use in Collaborate. Thank you, Dr. Kim. That is correct. So, you know, we're all just kind of figuring this out, and it's working slowly because we've had to figure everything out very quickly. So we'll be pros at this a year from now. I'm positive of it. But right now, we've been kind of thrown into this. So I did want to go over the steps as to how you actually use the Respondus tool. And the first step is to actually locate the Respondus tool in Blackboard. And so this is the summary step. So I go over each of these. What you're going to do is locate Respondus in the browser. So you're just going to go to Course Tools, and after you go through all of the course tools that you're already familiar with, you're going to locate Respondus Lockdown Browser. Next, you're going to just see this window. So this is the same video that students will see. And this one is actually the one that only, I'm sorry, this is not the same as the students to see. This is for the actual instructors. So you can play this video and it'll tell you what you can do in order to make Lockdown Browser the best use for you, so to speak. All you really need to do is click on this button to proceed to the Lockdown Browser. So once you get familiar with what this video says, you won't need to use it at all. You'll notice that the Lockdown Browser is not required. So once you get to what's known as the Lockdown Browser dashboard, you'll see that the exam does not require the browser, does not require the browser. So I have an exam out here called Assessment 2A, and the settings is what I need to go on to in order to make the Lockdown Browser required for this particular exam. So you just click on settings, and I'm going to show you this as a demo. And then you just need to set that the require Respondus Lockdown Browser for this exam. So you're pretty much just changing the option button from here to here and saving and closing. Once you do that, you do have the option of invoking the webcam. So right now, we're not using it in mass right now, but up to 200 licenses, we can allow people to use the lockdown, the Respondus monitor. So you'll notice I say it's not use at this time. So it's not in mass use at this time, but you certainly can use it. And then you'll notice that the browser is now required. So what it does is it tells you that the browser is required, and it changes the name of your actual test. And so where it used to be Assessment 2A, it's now requires the Respondus Lockdown Browser. So it changes the name of your test, and it tells you that it's required. Here, I wanted to identify the differences between the actual exams. So this is a normal test that you will see, and the exam does not require the Lockdown Browser. This is a normal test that you will see in Blackboard. When you change the setting, the name of your test will actually say requires Respondus Lockdown Browser. And in addition, if you have required both the Lockdown Browser and the Lockdown Monitor, your test name will change again. It will actually add webcam so that you will know that you have a test that requires the webcam, it requires the Lockdown Browser, or it just requires the Lockdown Browser, or it doesn't require it at all. And if you look at my dashboard here, practice tests, it's not required at all. For this practice test, it is required for the browser, but not the Respondus monitor. And then lastly, for this one, it's required for both. So I did want you to see the visual clue that Blackboard gives you in regards to this.
Excuse me, Carla. It seems to me that this does not give you the option of using Lockdown Browser without using Respondus. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. So you're saying that, so right here, this is the Lockdown Browser. This is the Respondus monitor. Here the browser is required. Here the monitor is not. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it does give you that option.
Oh, okay.
Huh? So
but
here,
it seems that that link is inactive, the way I see it on my screen.
No, these are not something that you click on. In order to do this, this will be clearer when I demonstrate. I always show you via PowerPoint first, via presentation, and then I demonstrate. So right now, I'm going to demonstrate locating an exam and setting the actual parameters. So bear with me while I share my screen with you, and this will become very crystal clear for you. Okay, so here I am right now in my test. Notice that my test sample, everyone can see, notice that this test sample, the browser is not required. I'm going to go down to my course tools, to the Respondus lockdown browser, and this is what it shows me right here. I don't need to do anything here except continue. And the test that I want, this is the dashboard. I can look at every single one of the tests where the browser is required. So the one that that test is not on is right here, test sample. Not required, not required, but I want it to be required. So I click the drop down, select settings, and then I just change this setting, require the Respondus lockdown browser. I don't need to put a password or anything else. This is optional. If I wanted to use some of these advanced settings, allow the student to take this exam with an iPad. Okay, so that's a special setting. So I can just click that. Enable the calculator, enable printing. I can use some advanced settings here. Or I can also require the monitor. So I'm not going to require the monitor, but I am going to require just the lockdown browser and nothing else. So I'm going to save and close. And then you'll see, here's my test. Test sample, it now requires the Respondus lockdown browser. It's required. If I go back and look at that test, it says it here. It's required. So when the students go into Blackboard and they click tests and they click this test, it's going to require the lockdown browser. And if they do not have it, they will see, let me see if I can take it. This is what they will see. This assessment requires that you use the lockdown browser. Start the browser and navigate back to this assessment to continue. So this is when I would start the lockdown browser right here. It doesn't allow students to continue unless the browser is not, unless the browser is being used. So you pretty much have to go through the browser in order to take the actual exam. So I'm not going to do that at this time, but certainly I have done it lots of times. And then they won't get this assessment password. They won't get that the next time they go in. So I'm just going to cancel here. All righty. So let me come back and see if there's any questions. And I do just, okay, I don't see any questions right now. So I just want to show you, when you look at the actual dashboard, the Respondus dashboard, which you can't get to unless you go into the course tools, which is right here. This is your Respondus dashboard. It shows you all of the tests that you currently have. And if you need to require the browser and you haven't already, all you do is click settings and change the settings to require it. And likewise, if you wanted to take it off, you can click settings and not require it and then save. So here it's not required anymore. So it's a simple click, basically. So I'm going to come back. I think I see a couple of questions. You can use the iPad Pro to write on, okay, can students download the browser on multiple devices? Yes, they can. Yes, they absolutely can. They have if I'm not mistaken, they have different versions of the actual software. Yes. So that won't be a problem. It is multi-device compatible. Thank you, Dr. Kim. But yes, it is multi-device compatible. All right. So you guys have been doing a fabulous job of asking questions as we go along. And this is as many questions as I've had the whole time. So I definitely appreciate that. So I just want to review this one real quick. So understand that this is how your regular test looks. This is how it looks when the browser is required. And this is how it looks when both the browser and the webcam is required. And just like here, you'll see both the browser and the webcam, or just the browser, or neither of those. Okay, so we have located an exam with the browser and without, and set the exam parameters. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those at this time. I mean, can they have it downloaded on iPad, iPhone, and computer? Yes, they can have it downloaded on multiple. Yes, on multiple devices. It's not going to. So if they have it on their computer and they're taking an exam on their computer, that's no problem. They can have it. There's no site license for the number of instances that the browser can be downloaded. None at all. So you have it on multiple devices. There's no limitation. So yes, no problem. Thank you, Dr. Kim. All right. So having said that, allow me to ask one more polling question.
Carla, I have one last question.
Uh-huh.
Are you going to send us PowerPoints with where students can go in order to download the lockdown browser?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Hang on 1 second, Ruth. One moment. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, so here's my polling question. Do you intend to use the lockdown browser only this fall? The lockdown, oh, I misspelled that. The lockdown browser with monitoring only. No, neither at this time. So if you can answer those questions for me, I would appreciate. So the lockdown browser so far, okay. All righty. So right now we have not at this time, pretty much, and then just a few people, a few faculty members, the lockdown browser with monitoring, and then the lockdown browser only. So once again, there are no limitations on the actual lockdown browser. We have plenty of seats available. There are no limitations. The lockdown browser with monitoring, there's a 200 seat limit. And so once we start approaching that, I will let the powers that be know that we need more seats. Or maybe I talk to the deans and let them know that we may have a need for it and they should just go ahead and buy the 1,000 seats before the fall begins. So I'm going to show the responses. All right. So using the monitor will depend if all students have webcams. Correct. If the students don't have webcams, they cannot be monitored. Great point, Dennis. That's why I wanted the faculty to know that the students will need to make a purchase for the webcam, because not all students use a laptop with a webcam built in. So yes, they will have to have them. And that was Dr. Kim's concern. If not all do, it would be unfair to use monitoring with some and not others. I agree. I completely agree. I'm not sure if students will begin to come on campus just to take exams with the computers in the library that do have a webcam. That certainly is an option. Then the library becomes a testing center, but that's a concern. Or I agree. It definitely would be unfair to have some required and not others. So, but so far, the lockdown browser only, or not using it at all, is what I'm actually seeing. If only our school put the cost of a computer in the tuition to incoming students, everyone would be equal. Yes, yes. Students are complaining about the student fees. Some of them. I've seen some. I've reviewed some of the, and actually that's across the board. All students at all colleges and universities, yes, correct. They are currently high. And a lot of that is technology fees. Some of it is actually, I've seen new parking structure fees, not at our school, not here, but some of the major universities, if they invest in a new parking structure that will benefit the whole campus, they put that in a student fee. Yeah, so yeah, the fees are rather high, and my understanding is, they're trying to help some students out with the CARES Act. Several students received refunds and assistance, not just a refund, but additional monies on top of that. Um, a lot in the high school, they use a Chromebook or an iPad, and it is required. Yes. Yeah. So we're once again, we're in unprecedented times, and like I said, we've been faced with this situation in a very short period of time. So and this is not uncommon for higher ed or K through 12. Even before COVID. Oh, okay. Yes. My son, I have children that attended schools, and they required an iPad, and that was 5 years ago. They required use of an iPad. They had to have an iPad when they came into the school. So it's not uncommon anymore. It's becoming more and more common. I would agree. I would agree. All right. So you guys have been a splendid audience. I thank you very much for attending today. I did write down a few of the questions that you had, and I will make this video available as well as the slides. I do have a handout actually, which is this handout, so that you won't forget, what to do. It's actually this handout. So this is actually one of my quick start guides. I just took a picture off of the quick start guide, but it tells you how to locate Respondus, how to access the browser, change the settings, save it, and then view the results. So I do have a quick start guide. I can send that out as well. Okay, but thank you for attending today. I will forward this list to the staff, the powers that be. Yes, you're so welcome. And I will forward this along so that they know that you did attend today, and you will get your credit for attending. So you guys are a great audience with super questions. I mean, I couldn't have anticipated these questions. So I'm definitely going to go and try to find out some of the answers. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. And I will see you either on campus, or I'll text to you in another one of my workshops. I have a workshop every single week. And I think you'll find use for everything that I prepare for you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Yes, did I record the grade book presentation? Yes, Dr. Kim, I do have that one. I wanted to view it, so I'm actually in the process of taking out all of the times that I said